This is the Huawei Watch Fit 4 and this is the Watch Fit 4 Pro. Now, both of these are Huawei's fitness-focused wearables packing in a lot of their latest technology. Now, the Pro version costs around £100 or 110 euros more than the standard Watch Fit 4. But which one of these wearables should you really buy? Now, to find out, I've been using both of these wearables for a few weeks, and in this video, I'll compare the designs, their specs, features, real-life battery tests, heart rate sensor accuracies, GPS accuracies, and much more, so you can make an informed decision on whether to avoid the standard version of the Watch Fit 4 and splash your extra cash on the Pro version. But before I jump into the nitty-gritty details, I just wanted to talk about the pricing and options for both of these watches. Now, the standard version of the Watch Fit 4 comes in at £150 or 170 euros, while the Pro version will set you back around £250 or 280 euros. Now, there's just a single size available for both of these wearables, and both come with just Bluetooth and Wi-Fi versions. No eSIM or LTE variants for these, which is one of the major differences between these and say Apple watches or Wear OS watches. And there's quite a few colors available for both of these wearables, which is really good to see. Now, I've got the standard version of the Watch Fit 4 in this aluminum alloy grey color and the Pro version in this titanium green color. Okay, let's talk about the design of both of these watches. Now, I like the design of the standard Watch Fit 4. It's one of the slickest wearables out there at this price point, and that's exactly what I said when I compared this to the Amazfit Bip 6 as well as the Xiaomi Watch 5. And like I said at the start, it looks very familiar with that Apple Watch like rectangular design, with the casing here made of aluminium, and it also comes with a rotating crown along with the secondary button right below it, which can be customized as a shortcut to open whatever app you want to open. Now, the Pro version also has a rotating crown with a customizable secondary button below it, but this comes with a titanium bezel, whereas the standard version doesn't. So it definitely feels and looks a bit chunkier as a Pro model, which is kind of following in the footsteps of the Galaxy Watch Ultra for Samsung and the Apple Watch Ultra. Now, both of these feel really lightweight, with the Pro version coming in at around 3 to 4 grams heavier than the standard version, which isn't a lot, to be honest. Now, the display size on both of these is a 0.82-inch AMOLED touchscreen, which is exactly the same as the Watch Fit 3 that came out last year. And whilst Huawei claimed that both of these displays are bezel-less, there's clearly a bezel on both of these. It's just that they are probably narrower than last year's Watch Fit 3. Now, whilst we're discussing displays, there's no information at all on the material for the display on the standard version of this watch, which is interesting. It's definitely not Gorilla Glass here on the standard version, so it might be tempered glass, but don't quote me on it. And this is rated to go up to 2000 nits peak brightness, which is really good to see here, and it's higher than the 1500 nits peak brightness on last year's Watch Fit 3. Now, the display on the Pro version, on the other hand, is definitely sapphire glass, which is going to be more durable than the standard version here, and it can go up to 3000 nits peak brightness, which is on par with most new flagship wearables coming out in 2025. Now, the resolution of both of these is the same as last year, so no change at all there, and they do look fairly sharp, which is really good news. Now, Huawei don't really give out information on what processors their wearables are using, so I can't really compare specs with other wearables, but from my own use, everything runs buttery smooth on both of these watches. Animations are snappy and stutter free. Now, when it comes to storage and memory, again, no specs from Huawei, and there's no way to check how much space is remaining, but a quick look on some retailers' websites show both may have around 4 gigabytes of storage for things like offline maps as well as downloading extra apps. There's also dual band antenna in both watches for GPS location tracking, which is an upgrade from last year's Watch Fit 3, so location accuracy for outdoor activities should be pretty good, and I'll test that later on in this video. Now, the standard version of the Watch Fit 4 comes with 5 atmospheres of water resistance, which is good for around 50 meters of water depth, so it's fine for like shallow water, swimming and things like that. But the Pro version, on the other hand, is certified to the European norm for free diving up to 40 meters. It also gets some diving specific apps like a depth checker, apnea testing, hover timer and dive safety features, which you won't find in the standard version, and to be honest, nowhere else at this price point, which is amazing. Now, I haven't actually personally tested the depth sensor on the Pro version here, so I can't really comment on its accuracy in this video. Now, at the back, both of these watches have Huawei's proprietary suite of sensors, and the optical heart rate sensor on the Pro model here does look slightly different to the standard version here, with more sensors to receive the reflected light from the wearable here. So I'm hoping and guessing that the accuracy of the Pro model will be somewhat better than the standard version, but let's test that out later on in this video. Okay, so let's talk about smart functionalities, and both of these watches are running the same Harmony OS from Huawei, just like all of their other smartwatches, and these are compatible with Android as well as iPhones, but have limited apps that can only be accessed via the Huawei Health app. And no, you can't access Google's Play Store or Apple's App Store in here, so you're kind of cut off from the majority of the apps you'd be using on your smartphones. I mean, I thought that there was a navigation app here easily available on the Huawei watches called Petal Maps. And if I click it, it just shows me a QR code to scan on my phone. And when I go into the Google Play Store on my Samsung phone, it shows that the Petal Maps hasn't even been updated by the developers for the latest version of Android. Now, you can make as well as receive phone calls on both of these wearables, except there always seems to be some sort of an obstacle in trying to do basic things. Like for receiving and making calls, you need to make sure that the contacts are all synced in the Huawei Health app first, and things like replying to text using the text-to-speech feature is only available when paired with a Huawei phone, not with Android or iPhones. I mean, of course, you still get a full QWERTY keypad on both of these watches to send custom text replies, but it would be nice if I could just easily access a phone keypad on the watch here so it can make the call over Bluetooth using my phone. But that option doesn't even seem to exist in the apps list. Now, overall, both of these Huawei watches have somewhat of a limited suite of smart features and are definitely lacking when it comes to the smart apps department, especially when you compare them to, say, Wear OS and Apple Watches. Okay, so let's compare all of the things that these two wearables can track from a health, performance as well as recovery perspective. Now, both watches come with 100+ activities, and most people will definitely find what they're looking for, including multi-sports like triathlons on both of these watches, which is an amazing addition for these prices. And I say that because multi-sports used to only be available in more expensive sports watches like Garmin and Coros, but seeing it here now in these two Huawei wearables almost feels illegal. Now, another amazing thing is that both watches come with advanced route tracking for 7 major aquatic activities, and these are Huawei's first ever water sport route tracking features available in 2025. And the Pro version has several built-in golf features like more than 15,000 golf courses worldwide and a bunch of other features which the standard version doesn't get. Now, I unfortunately don't play golf, but if that's something that really matters to you, there's only one clear choice between these two, and that's the Pro version. Now, when it comes to fitness training courses or programs, there's a ton of these available in the Huawei Health app which you can download, but a lot of them need a paid VIP subscription, and I also couldn't figure out an easy way to load any of these programs or courses onto either of these watches. So I definitely feel that the interface between both of these watches and Huawei's Health app and all of its training programs definitely needs some work. Now, if you like seeing specific performance metrics when working out, there's a ton of customization options for the activity data fields in both of these watches, and you can pick and choose the layout or where to put what metric, as well as set up multiple data pages for certain activities like running. Now, in addition to activities, both watches track similar health metrics like sleep, blood oxygen levels, stress levels, breathing rates, and then use all of that data to produce some really good insight and feedback within the Huawei Health app. Now, there are some differences with the Pro model here, which also gets an additional arterial stiffness sensor, an ECG sensor, as well as a skin temperature sensor, all of which the standard version doesn't get. And there's no blood pressure monitoring here, sleep apnea detection, and body composition sensor on either of these watches. So they're kind of lagging behind, say, Samsung when it comes to all of these additional health sensors. Oh, not to forget sleep tracking. Now, both of these Huawei wearables use the same tech to measure and analyze sleep, and I compared the sleep data against my Garmin Forerunner 970, which you can see on the screen now, and on most nights both were close to the Garmin, but on some nights the Huawei watches were overestimating my REM sleep phase. So overall, really impressed with the sport profiles, especially the multi-sport tracking capabilities on both of these watches. But the Pro model definitely comes with a suite of additional sensors that may matter to you over the standard version. Okay, let's talk about battery life, and Huawei claimed that both of these watches should be able to last for around 10 days in smartwatch mode maximum, with a typical usage of around 7 days, which is definitely more than what you'd get on Wear OS as well as Apple Watches these days. And in my testing, the standard version lost around 4 to 5% every night compared to the 3% battery on the Pro model whilst I was sleeping, and with both losing around 6 to 7% during workouts, which included a mixture of indoor training at the gym as well as the use of GPS for outdoor running and gravel riding. tracking. Now overall, the standard version of the Watch Fit 4 lasted for just under 8 days on a single charge with some fairly heavy usage, whilst the Pro model lasted for exactly 8.5 days. Now, your mileage may vary, especially if you use these for several other things than what I do with my day-to-day usage, but charging these once a week has been really amazing. Okay, let's talk about heart rate sensor accuracy. And like I said, both of these have Huawei's proprietary optical heart rate sensors at the back, and the Pro model does look a bit different with more sensors to receive the reflected light back for heart rate tracking compared to the standard version. So I've been keen to test this out for outdoor running, gravel riding, as well as strength training at the gym. And to benchmark my heart rate readings, I've been using Polar's H10 and Garmin's HRM 600 chest straps, which use ECG tech to record heart rate data and are often considered as the gold standards for heart rate measurement. Okay, so let's start off with a long outdoor run with intervals, and both watches have been accurate and in line with the chest strap for most of the run, with the average heart rate being off by just 1 beat per minute. Now, the calories expended on both of these watches were fairly similar, but less by around 400 calories compared to the Polar chest strap. Now, this was also something I observed when I compared the standard version of the Watch Fit 4 against the Amazfit's Bip 6 and Xiaomi's Watch 5. So it's a known thing with Huawei's calories expense estimation. Right, let's look at strength training, an activity where a lot of wearables start to struggle due to a lot of arm movements, rapid fluctuations in heart rate, and flexion in muscles. And the average heart rate on both these watches are again in line with the chest strap, and this time around so are the calories expended. Really great news here. Moving on, let's look at a recovery outdoor gravel ride, which is an activity where wearables can sometimes start to struggle. Now for both Huawei watches, my average heart rate is off by just again 1 beat per minute off the Garmin, which is brilliant news. Again, I think there's differences in how Huawei are estimating calories. Now, overall, pretty good heart rate sensor accuracies on both of these watches, and I thought the Pro model would actually perform better than the standard version, but looking at my tests, there's no major differences in both of these, so that wouldn't be a deciding factor to go for either of these watches. Just keep in mind about the slightly less estimation of calories expended for some activities on both of these watches. Okay, let's talk about outdoor location tracking accuracy, and both of these watches are equipped with dual frequency or dual band technology that can latch onto multiple satellite systems at 2 different frequencies for tracking outdoor activities. And this kind of dual antenna tech is normally found in more expensive wearables, so it's really good to see it come down to Huawei's slightly cheaper wearables too. Another amazing thing here on both of these watches is offline maps. You can finally download offline maps straight onto both of these watches along with terrain data and use them for tracking your location outdoors with added voice and turn-by-turn guidance, which is really good news. And the quality of maps, the data presented, and resolution is so much better than what I expected. Now, one difference between the standard and the Pro model here is that the Pro version actually comes with additional trail running features such as trail running tracks, slopes, ascent to marked locations, etc. And for outdoor activities like running and gravel riding, the distances recorded by both watches have been consistent with more premium sports watches with dual antenna tech like my Garmin Forerunner 970. And for running, the average pace recorded on both watches again are fairly consistent with the Garmin, which is brilliant news. And looking at one of my outdoor runs when comparing against my Garmin, both Huawei watches did fairly well, whether it was running in residential areas, trails with dense tree coverage, parks, as well as city areas, and they've managed to stay locked onto me throughout this run. So overall, the location tracking performance on both of these watches is exactly the same. Just keep in mind that there's some additional trail running specific features on the Pro model which the standard version doesn't get. Okay, let's talk about the Huawei Health App, and whichever wearable you go for, the app interface and feedback is going to be exactly the same. Now the interface here is fine. It shows you all of your health metrics measured by these watches in a bit more detail, and activity data is also presented really well here. There's running metrics that I wasn't even expecting, like my ground contact time, vertical oscillation, balance between my left and right feet, aerobic as well as anaerobic training effects, and so on. And it's not garbage data either. It's fairly consistent with what my Garmin Forerunner has been measuring, which is really good news here. But in other parts of the app, there's a lot of ads here for other Huawei wearables and features, including premium features under their VIP subscription package, which gives you access to things like more training programs and features, things that I personally think you don't really need to get the core useful functionality of both of these watches, but it just looks a bit cluttered in places because of all of those ads. Now, in my personal opinion, this is a decent app. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. So then, should you splash your extra cash on the Pro version of the Watch Fit 4 or still go for the standard version? Now, I quite like the standard version of the Watch Fit 4. It feels really nice and premium when you look at its design. It's got a really good suite of sport profiles, including multi-sports like triathlons, which I haven't heard of in this price range at all. Really good sleep tracking, dual band antenna, offline maps, as well as a really good heart rate sensor with really good accuracy. So this, I think, should be on everyone's list if you're looking at a wearable at this price range. But the Pro version here takes all of that amazing stuff from the standard version and takes it up a notch with that amazing and more durable display made of sapphire crystal that can go up to 3000 nits peak brightness, is more durable with the titanium bezel, has ECG functionality, diving capabilities, golf courses and specific trail running features, all while being fairly light and easy to live with. And at this price, this Pro version feels almost illegal to be out there for everyone to go and buy. So I'd recommend that if you definitely have the extra cash, go for the Pro model. Just keep in mind that both these watches are somewhat lacking when it comes to smart apps as well as features when you compare them to, say, Wear OS as well as Apple Watches. Alright, so I just wanted to say thanks to all of you amazing subscribers, and to new viewers. Don't be shy from pressing that subscribe button, especially if you don't want to miss out on a full in-depth comparison between the Google Pixel Watch 4, Samsung's Galaxy Watch 8 and the OnePlus Watch 3, a deep dive into all Apple Watches that have released this year, and an epic comparison between Samsung, Google, Garmin, Apple, OnePlus and Huawei wearables coming at the end of this year. See you in the next one.